Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the Resource Works Society. Welcome back to the show, Stewart.
Thank you, Jim.
Stewart, you're currently on a fact-finding trip across British Columbia. What kind of facts are you looking for, and where have you been?
Yeah, I'm finding facts by listening to people. I'm listening to people in the Bulkley Valley and, broadly speaking, the area where the Wet'suwet'en people have lived for 10,000 years, and that would be in the area of Smithers, the city of Smithers, and south and north of there. And so I've been visiting as many of the communities of the Wet'suwet'en people, because it seems to me that the protesters in all these Canadian cities, they're carrying around signs saying Wet'suwet'en strong and free and all this. And you see the interviews with them. They obviously don't know the first thing about the cause that they claim to be a cause and that they claim to be supporting. And I think it's almost surreal, because almost everything you hear from those crowds on the streets of Toronto and Vancouver about this issue is upside down or inside out or just plain wrong, like everything. And it's not right. It's wrong. Wet'suwet'en people, you don't need me saying that. I think the Wet'suwet'en people are the ones now saying, wait a minute, why are you talking for us? Who the heck are you? I've heard those almost words like that from I'm talking to chiefs, hereditary chiefs, elected chiefs, administrators, business people who are from the Wet'suwet'en nation. And I'm learning that, everything that, some people think they know is wrong.
Well, what's the biggest myth out there right now?
I think the biggest myth is that there is some sort of process that did not acknowledge the viewpoints and needs of First Nations in the area of the Coastal GasLink natural gas pipeline that's currently being built to serve the LNG Canada project located in Kitimat. I think there's this perception that there are some grievous wrongs that simply have been flouted and ignored by Ottawa and by the provincial government. That industry has been this and that. And, when you look at the actual facts of the matter, there's $1 billion. This number's just come out. $1 billion in jobs, in pay checks that Coastal GasLink will be sharing with First Nations during the course of building this pipeline, and probably afterward too. The enormous benefit. I visited one of the 6 small communities that make up the greater Wet'suwet'en First Nation. This is a community located west of the town of Burns Lake. I visited there, and they have a beautiful civic hall where their band office is located. They have a pit house architectural masterpiece replicating the pit house style that the people of the Carrier region and Wet'suwet'en have historically made their dwelling places in some areas, and they recreated it, using today's architecture and building standards to be their council chamber. And I sat in there and spoke to an administrator and listened to her, describe the things and the things they want. But you know what? That whole building, it was paid for by money from the Coastal GasLink project that came in through revenues that they were able to negotiate. So without that project, they would be, I don't know what they'd be in, but not that building. It's beautiful and new, and the elders could come there. The daycare center there, I walked in, beautiful daycare center, and they also had a language center, and there was an elder who spoke the Carrier language, and he was passing along his knowledge, because there's very few people, and they're passing on, So there's a place there. It wouldn't happen without the pipeline. I visited other communities, same thing in the village of Whitsett, Morristown. That's where the largest of Wet'suwet'en live, the largest number of Wet'suwet'en, over 2,000, I believe. They have plans for a 46 unit housing project that again, is being paid for because of the Coastal GasLink revenues that are coming in. But now they don't know if it's going to happen. And meanwhile, as one individual from the nation told me yesterday, it's not moving forward, and they won't get new housing. There's 46 families living there, 8 or 9 people in a house. That's who they're trying to rehouse in old dilapidated housing in some cases, I'm told. And the jobs, I was in the job training center this morning. They're training their young people to be able to have skills that they go to and a paycheck they draw and have some pride in accomplishment. They're training them in things like camp cook for construction camps. And there's huge demand for that. There'll be thousands and thousands of workers in these construction camps while this pipeline is being built. And once that's finished, they will have the certification, the tickets to be able to continue their work wherever they wish to take it. And that training, right now, I hear this so often from First Nations government people and from business people, is like getting a foot on the ladder of skills and training is the biggest impediment to First Nation success, especially in rural areas. It's all those protesters carrying Wet'suwet'en signs in downtown Toronto, pretending they know something about this ancient, beautiful culture. It really, actually, Jim, I was really upset by that because they don't know a thing. They have Ryerson, they've got U of T, they've got 10 universities, at least, they must, in Toronto, right? They can all go and get trained. And then they can all go and get jobs, great paying jobs. They can go work in New York or Ottawa or whatever they want to do. The world's our oyster. And there they are. Someone's told them, take up this sign because the Wet'suwet'en people can't have jobs. We got to stop them from having jobs. We got to stop them from having access to things that will give their elders dignity and have the knowledge that their people are getting the language passed down to them from their elders. They want to take that away. Who are these people in Vancouver and Toronto doing that? What's behind that? It's really depraved, frankly. I don't fly off the handle very often, Jim, do I?
Stewart, you're pretty level-headed.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
so basically the takeaway you're getting from this is that the benefits from the pipeline were flowing, but now there's all these protests and the pipeline construction has stopped. The benefits have stopped.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's why there was an unprecedented event yesterday where members of the Wet'suwet'en community, prominent ones, respected ones, got together and they gathered in the town of Houston, which is very close to where that, blockade stuff is happening. And they said, we've had it up here. We're not going to take it anymore, moment. And they spoke out. There was one woman, she's part of, I'm sure by now everyone's an expert on the Wet'suwet'en clan system. So the Unistone, which is one family of, it's a small fragment and it's the dark house segment of that. So it's really a small fraction, that has been, I guess the Unistone, you might say, although they're a real, family branch, they were weaponized by the California-funded opposers of Canadian natural resources who want to stop us from developing our resources. So I think they realized there was an opportunity to get, a few individuals into this who had, maybe they were nursing a legitimate grievance or questions about unsettled treaty claims, and that's a true thing. I'm not denying that. I'm not, I think it's very important they be recognized in a legitimate way. But it was weaponized by the California pressure group system that is really good at getting money into the hands of these, idealist activists who then help to set up and they stage manage it. Everyone's probably seen the film by now of the leaders in this protest saying, look, we want to get the media come here, but we want to control the content they have. We want to control what they are able to say and talk about. And that's exactly what happened. They had sort of captured media that were covering their blockade like it was the Super Bowl. Like, who cares about the blockade? We're not interested in that. But that became the story. What matters, though, was not the story. And the story is, how do the Wet'suwet'en people find the self-reliance and the ability to have a way of life that is suited to their desires? And right now, a lot of them don't have that. And it's being taken away from them by the pressure groups.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, to the Wet'suwet'en people who are affected by all these blockades and the lack of construction, do they have any way of getting their message out? Because, of course, people like to concentrate, I guess, on where there's conflict because it makes for interesting video or commentary. But what about people who want to go about peaceful, prosperous lives? How do they get their message out?
Yeah, well, they're starting to realize that if they don't do it themselves, no one else will. And I think that's almost a healthy thing. You know, there was maybe an assumption that good sense will prevail and the truth will come out. Well, unfortunately, in this day and age, when you've got these sort of subterfuge organizations that ingratiate themselves and co-opt local governance systems that are, unfortunately, through colonial effects, subject to people coming in and imposing their will on them, and this is a big part of what's happened. They just got to grasp it. The local leaders who care about their families and the future, and also want to share prosperity. I mean, I've never heard one person say, we can't wait to take these things away from the white man, or things that lines from the movies. I've never heard anything like that. It's the most loving and caring, open. Let's recognize that there are wrongs in the past, but let's move forward with open hearts to have solutions for the future. And I mean, it's the most reasonable governance system. I mean, it's 10,000 years old, and they've survived perfectly well until Europeans came along. Why not empower and restore those old ways? Which I think a lot of people are recognizing is really what needs to happen. And so the hereditary system, I talked to a hereditary chief, the problem might think, a hereditary chief must be someone against the pipeline. Well, no, actually, this hereditary chief, Gary Nelzeal, if you go to my Twitter, SJ Muir, you can find a video I published yesterday. We've been interviewing. Like I say, I'm on a listening tour. I'm not here to talk or tell anyone things. What do I know? I'm here to listen. And what I heard when I listened to Gary Nelzeal, he was a chief in the Laxilya clan. He said, I used to work in mining. I worked all over here, over there, and away from my territory. My grandparents were very happy I was doing that, and my parents were, and now I've come home, and I want to work in my own territory. And he's actually working on the Coastal GasLink pipeline project. He's got a job with it. And he said, finally, I'm doing the things I know how to do in my own territory, and I'm really proud of that. But why are these people saying I'm the enemy? I said, so that there are some hereditary chiefs who are obviously against this pipeline, or say they are, and yet we haven't, and the media's been really, really good at finding them and telling their story, but they've been terrible at finding the vast majority of hereditary chiefs who either are kind of sitting on the fence because they might think, you know what, we're going to leave the elected chiefs to deal with that stuff because that's, government stuff, and we're going to be, doing our cultural work to, aid the health of our people. And then there's the hereditary chiefs who are, strongly supportive and are now starting to say so. The thing that runs so deep amongst the Wet'suwet'en that I've talked to and I'm starting to learn from them is that it's the culture of respect that drives everything here. And one of the reasons I think that we haven't heard hereditary chiefs jumping up to, say, hey, that hereditary chief is wrong is because that sort of goes against the code of respect that is an ancient way going back 10,000 years. And so, I think that's a culture clash, and people are very reticent to take things into the public space because that's a violation of the code of respect. And so I think unfortunately, it's worked a little bit against them. So I don't think they should abandon the code of respect. I think you and I, Jim, we should be out there talking about how Canadian society can learn from the code of respect of the Wet'suwet'en people and other First Nations. But how can this conflict be resolved? Using the principles of respect, I think the Prime Minister needs to respect the majority of Canadians, want something to happen in this country, and that this should be facilitated. Right now, making it easier for people to have these unlawful protests seems like not the best way to do that.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, how do these people feel when they see on their TV sets groups of 200 to 400 people blocking intersections in Vancouver, holding up transit buses, threatening to shut down rapid transit for days? How do they feel if they're not representing their feelings? But do they feel it makes them look bad?
Well, exactly those words. In fact, I talked with Councillor Clement Mitchell, and he is a man of older years who stood for office and is a councillor. And by the way, a couple of those Hereditary chiefs who are against the pipeline recently stood for elected office in the largest community, the Wet'suwet'en First Nation of the Wet'suwet'en, and they couldn't get elected. So they clearly don't have popular support. But Clement Mitchell did get elected and is a councillor, and he said, why are you doing this? If you are not a Wet'suwet'en, do not be speaking about the business of the Wet'suwet'en. You have no right. I mean, it's pretty simple. Who are these fools walking around claiming to represent the Wet'suwet'en? It's disgusting. It does not represent the Wet'suwet'en. None of them at all. And anyone who is behind that is perpetrating an act of grave cultural disrespect. If there's anyone listening to the show, maybe your listeners are more, professionals who've done something with their lives. You're older, you got kids. If your kids are going off to a protest, Mom, Dad, I'm going down to, stand up for the Wet'suwet'en, maybe you should tell them that they are committing an act of cultural disrespect that is causing people to be unwell in their communities. Just stop it.
Do they plan to send any delegations from up north down to where there's more media in the south to maybe explain we're not in favor of these blockades? We already negotiated deals that were working well for our community?
Well, I think they tried to do that through the news media yesterday, and I will give credit. Us old dogs in the journalism game, we've seen a lot of things come and go. I think it's taken a while for the news media to recognize that the Wet'suwet'en or the pipeline story is not. It's not. The important thing is not there's a blockade and you can come and get some pictures of someone in a traditional blanket that they've taken out of their feast hall to display to the public for their own gain. I mean, that's also very offensive. It's a use of a sacred object in ways that a lot of the elders are very uncomfortable with. But anyways, if you think that's the story, because it's what's on the news, it's not the story. The story is the restoration of health in the post-colonial era to the Wet'suwet'en people and others who are affected by this, who want to have a life like you have, who want to have a family that can stay home and be together and have knowledge that there's not a disproportionate suicide rate amongst their young people. There's not an early mortality problem that causes hardship just in so many ways. Like, why shouldn't they have that? Who are these kids with the signs? They're perpetuating it by marching on the streets of Vancouver. They're causing not only direct impact on the economy that harms the First Nations, they're also culturally insulting the people who they have no stake, no right to represent or claim to represent. Incredibly insulting.
Stewart, so how much more of this fact-finding are you going to do, and what kind of, I can't say conclusions now you found, but obviously you're finding out that the real story hasn't been told. And another thing we have to comment on modern journalism, there's very little journalism. How many of these reporters or media members that have gone out there have actually trekked out into the communities and talked to people rather than, standing or just watching some kind of flashpoint.
Yeah. No, I'm giving credit to my colleagues in journalism. They're starting to come up. There's national press showing up. There's a lot more interest. I interviewed one business leader who was Wet'suwet'en, who was just a fabulous individual, so many insights, and I posted a video about him, Troy Young, and within a day, The Economist magazine called him to get his thoughts. People outside are watching what we're doing in our sandbox, and they're not impressed. And when they see someone like a Troy Young come forward and say, look, here's what matters to the Wet'suwet'en, they're saying, oh, look, here's someone we should be talking to. And then they are talking to that person, and they're getting a balanced view. And I think this obsession with, we got to make sure we're covering the blockade. What are the blockade people? What's their spin today? That's the story. What's on the news? That's not the story. It's not the story. And so I think there's a wider recognition of what matters here. And I give credit to my journalistic colleagues who are now coming up in number. They started arriving yesterday. I think there's more starting to pay attention. Godspeed to you folks out there. I think you're going to get an amazing story, and you're going to find beautiful people here who are just eager to tell it.
Stewart, thank you so much for chatting with us. I know you're a pretty busy person bouncing around there, and I look forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks. My guest has been Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the ResourceWorks Society. His website, resourceworks.com, his Twitter handle, @SJMuir. If you have any questions for Stewart or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.